passion, focus, discipline. This is the Zero Excuses podcast. Each and every week, we talk to high-performing, inspirational athletes, entrepreneurs, and leaders. We ask powerful questions to extract their tools, strategies, and life lessons for you to crush your excuses, to break out of your comfort zone, and accomplish your ambitious dreams and goals. Here's your host, Kenyon HERE.
Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the podcast. Thank you for tuning in. We have an awesome guest lined up for you guys today. We have none other than Mr. Bubba Downs. He is a good friend of mine, and I am excited to not only bring him on the show today to get to know him a little bit better, but he's getting ready to launch his own podcast, In the Trenches, and he's also launching his own consulting business by the same name. And I'm just excited to get to know him a little bit better. We've run in the same circles, and now we finally have a chance to sit down and have a chat. But Bubba, really, he's one of those guys who is in the trenches. He's really turned his life around. He grew up in rural Texas in a fatherless home, and just kept on moving from location to location. Really didn't have a very, very stable upbringing, and it led to him getting into some not so great situations with drinking and getting arrested and all sorts of things. But fast forward to today, he's really inspiring men to live their life with purpose, to really own their lives and not be a victim of their circumstances. So that's what we're going to talk about today. But before we get into the conversation, as always, just have a couple quick reminders. Number one, if you're interested in exploring the topics and the strategies and the tools that we talk about here on the show all the time, have a couple different opportunities for you to explore those in a little bit deeper fashion. Number one, go ahead and join a free Facebook group. You can go to kenyonxcuses.com/group, take you right to our page. You can just hit the join button and answer a couple quick questions. And secondly, if you want to chat with me one-on-one, I'm offering everybody a chance to do that. 15-minute general connection call with me one-on-one, whether you simply want to get to know me a little bit better or want to explore something that's on your mind a little bit deeper. You can do that at kenyonxcuses.com/call, CALL. Take you right to my calendar, and you can sign up for a 15-minute connection call. All right, guys, that's all I've got for right now. Let's get into the conversation with Bubba. Bubba Downs, thanks for taking time out of your evening to chat with us here on the Zero Excuses podcast. Excited to finally actually connect with you and have a conversation with you. I know we were talking a little bit before we started recording that we're kind of running the same circles, have the same interests. We're both, love Epictetus and have a lot of similar interests, but we never actually sat down and had a long discussion like this. So excited to get to know you a little bit better. And again, thanks for taking time out of your schedule to join us here tonight.
Absolutely, Kenyon, man. I really appreciate you having me on. Honored, brother. So,
and I've watched you grow over the past couple of years in the mastermind that you and I have been participating in, and I've always been impressed with your humility and your self-awareness about yourself. And I know that wasn't always the case for you. And I'm really excited about the step that you're taking right now as well with what you're launching with In the Trenches, your coaching program and your podcast. And but take us back in time a little bit and tell us a little bit about where you came from, and I guess give us a sense of your background, where how you were raised, and then we'll kind of fast forward into today and who you are as a person.
Oh man. So basically, I grew up whenever I was with my mom, we usually spent time in a trailer that was about the size of my living room. Me, my mom, my sister, whichever stepdad she was married to at the time. She would also drop me off at my grandparents religiously whenever we would move. I don't think I spent more than a semester at one school growing up. So that's kind of where I came from. And then it just got to the point where this ain't working. So I left. It was a childhood that was full of physical, emotional, sexual abuse. There was, my stepdad broke my nose for the first time when I was, I think, 8. So, I mean, there was a lot of things that went on with it, but what do you do about it?
Yeah. So, it's a real contrast to, my upbringing, and it was pretty safe and, pretty, I'll just call it vanilla. And, we see so many people, see so many men out there who are raised in conditions like you just described. Their fathers leave early, and I really think that the work that fast forward to today, the work that you're doing to kind of backfill that for some of these guys who were in a situation like you found yourself in, growing up without a father and in these horrible conditions, is extremely important work. I guess, as you progress through, elementary school and then high school, I'm sure this stuff kind of manifested into bigger problems. What were some of those problems that you started to experience, as you got into, your teen years and then ultimately graduated? What did that lead you to towards adulthood here?
Oh yeah, all kinds of goodies. So actually, I didn't make it through high school. I dropped out of high school as a freshman. That's the extent of my education. I have a 9th grade education. I dropped out, started running with the wrong crowd, went to jail once or twice, drinking heavily. That was my big thing, was drink. I would sedate myself from the world. I spent most of my time, I wasn't necessarily, I know that I can't make the demons go away by drinking, but I can get them drunk enough to shut the fuck up for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So that's where I was with it. I spent the majority of my 20s as an alcoholic, in and out of jail at least once a week. It was pretty rough. I got my first DWI when I was 21, got my second when I was 24. Both of those times, I got put on probation, and I walked into the probation office and told them, "No, we're not doing this. I'll see y'all when y'all catch me," and turned around and walked out. Because I didn't feel as though there was anything wrong with me. I couldn't own up to my own bullshit long enough to serve the sentence that was granted me.
Yeah, and you were pretty lucky to get away with just probation at that point.
Oh yeah, whenever they finally caught me, I wound up spending some time in jail.
Yeah,
30 days, 60 days, things like that. And go ahead.
No, this is just the classic example of, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So it's not like, it's not your fault that you were in the circumstance that you were in. However, you didn't necessarily.
It wasn't my fault, but it was my responsibility to get the hell out of it.
Yeah. So was there a tipping point that you finally said, what the hell am I doing? Or was it a gradual realization that you came to, over the course of a few years that you needed to get your shit together?
It really was a gradual thing. It's been about 10 years now that I've really started trying to work on it, like legitimately putting effort into it. I think I got up one day and I was brushing my teeth and I was looking at myself in the mirror, and it was just, there's a big divide between who I say I am and who I am. I was living in the integrity gap, and I don't know if you've ever spent any time there, but that shit will eat you up, man. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I've definitely had my moments like that. I certainly not something as serious as like alcoholism or anything, but there are definitely some small little snippets where I can relate to that. But was that point in time when you were brushing your teeth like the beginning of that 10-year time span?
It was pretty close to it. I mean, it was, I was brushing my teeth and I was thinking about my grandpa. He spent a lot of time raising me. My mom, she'd go out and chase whichever guy she was fixing to marry for a while, and whenever she'd get hit, she'd come pick me and my sister back up. But he used to tell me, you can either happen to life or you can let life happen to you. And that's all. was just letting life happen to me over and over and over and over. And man, that shit gets tiring.
Mm-hmm. So was that kind of the first, would you call that like that first little baby step that you took? Was kind of like starting to play that mantra back over your head, back through your mind?
The first real baby step was looking at myself and saying, you're not who you tell people you are. Quit lying.
What was that story like? Can you describe that delta for us, that difference? So
I used to tell people that I was a good man,
mm-hmm.
But I would lie to them. I would cheat. I would, there were some times where I actually stole some shit. And that's been a long time, but it was all in there. I'd get drunk and just pass out wherever. I'd get drunk and walk around the neighborhood naked because I thought it was fun. I was that guy that everybody liked to have at the party because I'd get just stupid drunk and make a fool out of myself. And, I was getting in fist fights constantly. I just wasn't living a life that was any shape, form, or fashion of integrity.
And at that point, if I recall your story right, you had children at that point in time, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I had at that point in time, I had a 11-year-old daughter and a 9-year-old daughter. They hadn't lived with me and I hadn't seen them in years. So their mom and I split up, and when we went to court, she fought to win and I fought to not lose. And the harder that shit got, the further away I got. I just wound up walking away from my kids, and that is something that I'll never even be able to forgive myself for. I mean, I did. I walked away from them, and yeah, I mean that I have to deal with that.
So I know you've gone through a job change or two. What's your relationship with them today? Is it on the mend, or is that the changes you've made? Are they seeing how you've changed? And like there's people who go through fits and spurts of they change for a little bit and then they revert right back to who they were before that brief moment of clarity. Right. But you're totally different. Are they seeing that you're legit and
No, they don't see it, man. The bad thing is even though your past doesn't equal your future, people that know your past still have that representation of you in their mind.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes a lot of work to get that done, man. And I wound up taking a job and I wound up moving. And that created space between us, physical space.
Right.
And whenever you create that physical space, it opens up emotional space. And it went downhill pretty drastically after that move, honestly. We were making some progress, but now it doesn't. They both have decided to distance themselves, and I just kind of let them know, look, I'm here. I'm a phone call away. If you need me, call me. And I try to reassure them every time that I get the chance to speak to them of that I'm here if you need me. Just call me.
So at what point in time did you, I know we talked about some baby steps that you started to make here. What were some of the, what was the step that you took that really started to get things taking off? What was there a, did you just start to go deeper inside yourself, or, was there a resource that kind of landed in your lap? What was that big catalyst, I guess, that started this new Bubba Downs path?
So the first catalyst is I got my ass out of bed in the morning. That's the biggest one. I'm not even gonna lie to you, man. Yeah, that really is the biggest tool that I've implemented that's helped me turn my life around. Because I used to sleep till 7:30, 7:45, and I had to be at work at 8. Just enough time to brush my teeth, jump in the truck, rush, go, rush. Then I come home, get drunk, fall asleep, do it all over again the next day. But once I decided, I made a conscious effort, I'm getting up at 4 o'clock every morning. I don't know about you, but if you've ever tried to get out of bed at 4 o'clock in the morning after a night on the town, it kind of sucks a little. So That kind of put a dampening on that a little bit. It didn't stop it. I didn't actually quit. I didn't actually stop the drinking to the extent that I have until about a year and a half ago. All of last year, I drank 5 times. Whenever I was drinking an 18-pack to 20 beers a night. So I think I've made progress. I haven't set it to the side, mainly because I want to prove to myself that I have the discipline to not touch it.
Mm-hmm. And do it very, very intentionally. It sounds like those 2 things were kind of very intentional things that you did in your life. And, that may be a cliche, cheesy word to throw around, but it's really true. Like everything that you do, if you don't do it with intention, it's random, and it leads to random bullshit happening to you in your life.
That goes back to my grandpa. You can either happen to life, or you can let life happen to you.
Yep.
If you're not intentional with your time, with your resources, with your energy, then life's going to happen to you. And I'm not a fan of that.
So I'm just trying to kind of piece this together a little bit better here. So what were some of the resources that you started to turn to where did this start? Where did this stuff come from? Did you just, because I know that you didn't just wake up one day and say, you know what, tomorrow I'm going to wake up at 4 a.m. and your fingers to change that. Where did all this stuff start to percolate from, I guess?
So I'd been working on my own for probably about 6 years, 6.5, something like that, trying to get back into integrity. I was still failing. I was still doing things that I shouldn't be doing, but I was getting better. However, I had reached a ceiling where I thought that, I'm actually fairly decent. And then I found, the other bearded guru's site.
Order man. We can say it here. I love sharing resources.
Oh, I know. I just wanted to, in case Ryan ever listens to this, I love calling him a bearded guru. So, But no, I found Order of Man, and after about 3 months in the Order of Man group, I figured that he had given me enough value for me to invest $67 in his little mastermind. I mean, at that time, it was a little mastermind. It's not so little anymore. But,
right. I think you and I joined about the same time.
Yeah. Somewhere. It was December 4th, 2016 is when I joined. So that's, I remember it to this day. I remember pulling the trigger on it. And whenever I got in there and started surrounding myself with guys who were not only successful, but were intentionally successful and called me out on my bullshit whenever I was just letting it happen, dude, Katie barred the doors, bro. I mean, I took off.
Mm-hmm. So what was that like? Like, it seemed like you'd never had that level of accountability. Was that a serious adjustment that you had to make, or was that like, oh my God, this is what I needed my entire life? Like
the latter. It was absolutely the latter. This was exactly what I needed. But honestly, man, I have such huge trust issues with men due to my childhood that I never had male friends.
Mm-hmm.
And the male friends that I did have were just as big of a loser as I was for the most part. I mean, yeah, they got up, they went to work, they didn't do meth, but they didn't have any goals, aspirations, dreams, goals. They didn't have anything to crush. And, whenever you spend your time with people that don't have goals, that don't have a game plan, that aren't living intentionally, it's real easy to just swim alongside.
And just have that Groundhog Day like life until you hopefully have enough to retire when you're 62 and a half.
Oh, there's no way.
Yeah.
No way. No way. Not living that lifestyle.
Nope. So I would imagine that take someone who, for example, maybe had 180-degree, childhood, had it nice and safe, had everything handed to them, maybe not on a silver platter, but they had like your standard blue-collar upbringing, nothing too hard. I've ran into this in the military where as soon as you give them feedback they get offended. They get, they think that you're personally attacking them anytime they give you feedback or give them feedback. I mean, someone like yourself is like, I find that very rare where you jump into a situation that's a little bit foreign. You mentioned you had trust issues with men, and then you're like, oh, this is what I needed. This is welcome. Give me, what else am I doing wrong? How can, what are some ways that maybe someone who's afraid to hear that feedback or afraid of feeling like they're a failure because they're receiving feedback, I guess, what sort of mental shifts can you, I guess, convey to them if they're one of those people out there listening right now that have a tough time absorbing feedback, absorbing being called out on their bullshit? How can they just make that mental shift? If I don't know if you can even speak to this, but
absolutely, man. It's real easy. Stop. Stop being a punk. If there is a big difference in being belittled and receiving feedback. I can tell you that you're being a worthless sack of shit with love in my heart, and that's feedback.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to, and I think that's where I actually have succeeded a lot better with this stuff, is because I'm always asking for that feedback.
Yeah.
I am very open and I'm very welcoming of it. So whenever these guys give me feedback, guess what that does in turn? It gives me the ability to give feedback. And they take it with a lot better than if, I just called them out on their shit.
Yeah. So just get yourself in an environment where there's that give-take relationship.
Right.
Is what I'm getting here.
Right.
So, there's a saying that I like to, or a quote that I like to say. I don't know if it's a quote by someone famous, but like, just because you don't like the tone or the source of the feedback, it doesn't invalidate the feedback or the information or make it any less useful. So
absolutely.
You really have to filter that and just see the gold for what it is, and not just because someone's coming at you with a nasty tone, or you just happen to not like this particular person. You have to humble yourself to just take a step back and just see that feedback for what it is, and it's just feedback.
Yeah. So one of my favorite Epictetus quotes, and I'm going to butcher it because I don't have it written up in front of me, but it's if someone speaks ill to you, ask yourself, is there any truth to it? If there is not, laugh at it. If there is, fix it. I mean, it really doesn't get much easier than that. I've really dug into this whole stoicism thing over the last 2 years. That's been a big help as well.
Yeah.
You guys, if you aren't reading the Daily Stoic, at least, you're missing out. I really recommend that. And stoicism isn't for us to be some emotionless bastard like Spock on Star Trek. It's that way we understand what our emotions are, harness them, and then use them intentionally.
Yes. Yeah. You know what? I've been having trouble explaining that to people because people think I'm an emotionless prick sometimes. And I was like, no, it's just like I can see my emotions and I either choose to let it out or not. If whatever the situation is, if it's going to help me get something, yeah, maybe I'll let that emotion loose. But if it's not going to help the situation or make it worse, why allow myself to be frustrated? It's a very intentional decision that you make. Like, okay, I'm feeling frustrated. Should I let that out or not? Or maybe I'm feeling happy. Maybe I should let that out and let someone know, like, hey, what you did made me feel happy. So right. There's a very intentional decision there, and a lot of people don't realize they have that level of control over their emotions. And was that one of the biggest realizations that you had by studying Stoicism? Is man, I didn't realize I had this level of awareness about me.
Honestly, I had started studying Buddhism probably 15 years ago or so. And Buddhism and Stoicism have a lot of, mix and match to it. However, Stoicism is Buddhism with balls. I mean, it takes it to that next level. So whereas I was working on being Zen and peaceful, this allowed me to understand why.
Right. It gives you that next level of, where you can look down and look at what's going on inside your brain, not just be peaceful and be. It's just, right. Okay, it's that analytical piece that was missing.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
So, hey, we're starting to run up against time. I want to shift gears here a little bit, and I wanted to dig into, you've dropped a lot of wisdom on us today, and I know you're getting ready to, give many more people an opportunity to do that. And one of the big things that I see coming out of the groups that you and I are in is hey, now, someone's helped us along, and now it's our turn to start, reaching back and showing people the way. So what are you presently doing? What's the project that you're working on right now? And, tell us a little bit more about In the Trenches.
All right. So In the Trenches is basically, it's a one-on-one coaching program. About to launch a 4-week course where we really dig into your thoughts, which lead to your emotions, which lead to your actions, which lead to your results. That's really what I'm trying to focus on. I'm trying to make sure that we get our minds right. So that way we don't allow our feelings to overrun our actions, which would give us shitty results, which creates shitty thoughts, which creates shitty emotions. And it's a cycle, man. So yeah. I want to break that cycle and help reverse some of that. Let's start getting these thoughts fixed so we can start getting the results that we want.
Yeah, so many people use the excuse, "Oh, this is just the way I am," and again, I think that's a perfect analogy. I love that. I use a very similar analogy: beliefs lead to your emotions, emotions lead to your actions, actions lead to your results, and then it's it starts all over. Right. And I'm totally on board with what you're doing there. And gosh, there's so many people out there that just let their thoughts run rampant. That they let their anxiety, their fears run their lives. And, there's a level of control. It doesn't have to be all, run into, the pharmacy to get some anti-anxiety pills. I mean, granted, I'm not a doctor. If you are someone who has, severe conditions, obviously still go to your doctor, seek their advice. But there is some level of control that you personally can take responsibility for. And there's some exercises and reading Stoicism. All of this stuff has helped my mental health, I guess, even though I wasn't in a serious state. All this stuff that you're doing, all the resources that you mentioned can help with that. And
absolutely, man.
I'm not trying to go off on the rails here, but
no, but I'm actually going to take us a little bit further down those rails. You posted a Facebook video today about compare versus compete. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was brilliant, man. Brilliant. See, one of the things that we do is we compare possessions, yes, which leads to some of that anxiety, which leads to some of that depression. We're looking at somebody's highlight reel where they're off in Jamaica. Oh, well, shit, I guess I'm just going to go to McDonald's. No, man. Stop comparing your damn possessions and start comparing your ability. You have the ability to be as good as those guys. You have the ability to make as much money. Find out what they're doing and do it better. Mm-hmm. There's in 1954, there was a guy, I can't remember his damn name, but he broke the 4-second mile for the first time. That was thought to be inhuman. After he did it the next year, 3 more guys broke it. Do you think that would have happened if they hadn't have been comparing their ability to that guy's?
Mm-hmm. But they did it with intention. That's what it all comes back to. Right.
Compare your ability. Do you have the ability to go out there and do what that guy does? All right. Now, how can you backwards engineer what he's done and do it? Don't worry about his damn Mercedes. Don't worry about his damn yacht. Worry about his work ethic. Worry about his drive. Figure out how to backwards engineer that and make that shit work, man.
And then you be the gold standard.
Right.
Turn yourself into the gold standard. Now everyone's going to compare themselves to you.
And good.
Yeah.
When they come to me and ask me how, here, man, let me show you. It's that easy, man. Compare yourself to those that are better than you. Put yourself in a spot where you're around people that are better than you. Don't do it out of jealousy. Do it out of ambition.
Love it.
Sorry to derail us like that.
No, man. This is all good stuff. I get amped up about all these, all this stuff, and there can't be enough people that are doing what you and I are doing, and not everyone's going to relate to me as good as they are you, and vice versa. So the more people, there's plenty of room at the table. There's plenty of food to go around, and if you've got a story to share, a point in your life that you climbed out of, that you're now thriving and have a short story to share, you're well qualified to help other people get to where they want to be in their lives. And you've got a special perspective that nobody else has. Like that's the biggest key, is that you're the key there, and that you have, like I said, the perspectives, the unique knowledge, and people will resonate with you when you show up as, not some blowhard, and you're just sharing your story and doing it. I hate the word authentic, but it gets thrown around so often, but it's like the best descriptor I can think of at the moment. Maybe genuine is better. But you know what I'm getting at.
Just keeping it real, homie.
Yeah.
So look, man, I get that. And that's one of the things why I really enjoy working with men, is because I sat in that hole.
Mm-hmm.
I sat in that hole forever, man. But now I know how to get out of it. Well, I'm willing to jump down there and help somebody else do it too.
Yep. And hey, there's just so many people out there, and gosh, I'm trying to just, the gears are starting to turn here. Is like, not everybody has access to podcasts. Not everybody has access to, technology as prominent as it is. Like, I'm sure, like, if you were to go back to maybe your roots, not every single person has access to this type of stuff. So hopefully, we can spread this as much as we can, and it'll just grow from natural, word of mouth, hopefully, and people can hear, your story and like, hey, you remember that guy that we grew up with? Like, he's got his podcast. Like, everyone gathering around their phone listening to you talk. I can imagine that's going to have quite an impact on people in your hometown and all around the globe. So appreciate what you're doing. How can people actually get in touch with you? You have a website?
I do. It's called ittcoaching.net. That's the website. It's still under construction. Or you can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ITTcoaching. I think. Right
on, man. Well, I'll drop all those links in the show notes here. You got any last golden nuggets you want to drop on us before we wrap things up?
And brother, I'm just gonna have to go back to my old faithful. That sucks. What are you gonna do about it?
Mm-hmm. And keep it simple too. That's another thing I love about you. You keep things simple, short, sweet, to the point. All right, man. Well, again, appreciate your time, and look forward to getting this content released.
All right, Kenyon. Well, I appreciate you, brother, and look forward to seeing you next time, bro.
Thank you for tuning in to the Zero Excuses podcast. Join the conversation at kenyonhere.com in our Facebook group. And don't forget to rate and subscribe to our show. We'll talk to you next week. And always remember, results, not excuses.